I'm Diane, and I love poke salad. My grandmother used to cook it when I was a little girl, and my mother was from Utah. She never knew what to do with it, so I always loved it when I would go to Grandma's and she would have cooked poke salad. And I love history, so I want you to understand why when Batesville was first settled, it was known not as Batesville, but as Polk Bio. That's P-O-K-E, not P-O-L-K like the President Polk. It was not named in honor of him. It was named for some of these plants that are growing right back here behind me on the bank of Polk Bio, which is about a block on through the woods and downhill, and there it still is, and the poke is still here today. So why would anybody name a place and a bio after a weed? Well, the pioneers, didn't have Kroger when they got here. They had hogs so they could have bacon, and they had chickens so they could have eggs. But green vegetables, that was, you needed to clear land and have the seeds and plant things and wait for them to grow and all. So they were delighted when they discovered these green plants that are growing back here. So we picked our poke, and now we come back to the kitchen. And what do you do when you bring vegetables in from the garden? Well, you have to do the same thing when you bring them in from the woods. Wash them. You really don't want to add protein to your poke by cooking the sugars and spiders or whatever. Now, for those of you who are afraid of spiders, I saw only one today, and he was very friendly and caused no problems. So you just, put them in the sink and whisk them around and put it over. Okay. I've rinsed everything now. So now comes the oh yeah, this is the really fun part. Shake it off and take it over here, plop it down, and then I plop me down. Because you may remember that I said that I found a spider. I'm giving it another chance of life. Anyway, you remember I said that we had to take the leaves off because we don't really want to eat the stems. If you're going to eat stems, you have to peel them and then roll them in cornmeal and then fry them like you could deep fry them. They're supposed to be delicious. I can't testify to that because I've never eaten fried poke stems, but you definitely don't want to try to eat them raw. Never try to eat the roots. Never eat the berries, ever. They have the possibility of killing you. They will at least probably make you very, very sick. And the reason is they're not poison per se, but poke has a very high concentration of vitamin A. Even after we've cooked it and made it ready for humans to eat, it still is an excellent source of vitamin C, vitamin A, iron, and something else I can't remember, but something we need like phosphorus. So we don't want to eat the stalks. We just want to eat the leaves. So we're going to pick off the leaves, and I cut off the stems just because they tend to be a little tough on the more mature leaves. If you're like me, once you've tasted poke, it's worth it, at least for a couple of misses a year. So now we have finally gotten all the leaves off the poke we picked, and look what a huge amount it is. And you'll think about that later when you see where it goes next. Because maybe you can see the steam. We have a pot of just plain old water, no salt, no nothing, just water, boiling. And now I'm going to put all of this in there, if I can. So that they're safe to eat. Now I have read that some people boil poke just one time, just that one 20-minute boil. Other people will boil it 3 times. Boil it, drain it, rinse it, boil it, you know. And most people, including me, boil it twice. Okay, so we've boiled our batch the first time for 20 minutes, and now a colander in the sink, and I'm just going to slop all of this in there. Now at this point, you could fill this back up and put it back on to boil, but to speed things up a little bit, I have another pot, and so it's going to be heating up. Should have started it earlier, but I didn't. Anyway, it's going to be heating up while I'm rinsing and draining the what has already been boiled. Out of that, and remember that big, huge pile? There it is now. So, wait for this to come to a boil. Then I'm going to dump this back in and cook it the second time for 15 minutes. And while it's cooking, I'm going to fry a couple of strips of bacon. And this is just kind of the basic way to do it. You pick it, you leaf it, you boil it, you drain it, you boil it again, drain it again, and then you put it in the skillet where the bacon grease is and heat it up, kind of saute it a little bit with that. Then you crumble the bacon into it, and then it's ready to eat. Well, the timer just went off, and I have, while this was boiling, I did cook 2 slices of bacon, and so the bacon grease is still right there, and I'm going to pour this, once again, into the colander. And I'm going to put the bacon grease over here. And as soon as this is put it back in the pan, and it can drain into the pan. I'm going to put this in the bacon grease. Let that extra water cook out of there and get everything exposed to some good old bacon fat. Well, of course, I have hardly any bacon fat left. Nobody told me they'd been into my bacon fat. Put what little bit I have in here. I don't really like a lot of salt, so that's not too much salt for that much in the way of greens. So there it is. At this point, it's theoretically ready to eat. I'm gonna just crinkle up the bacon that I cooked. So this is, you know, not one of those things you want to come in from work at getting in at like 5:30 and you've got to have dinner on the table by 6, this is really not something you want to, you don't want to run out to Poke Bio and pick poke and then you go through all that you've watched us do. So what you can do, if you try poke and like it, is take it through the first boil and drain it well, and then bag it up in 1 pint or 1 quart, whatever. I'll tell you, a lot of poke makes just a little bit of frozen poke. Remember the vast heap, and now you see this just fills this small skillet. So, but you prepare it, maybe put it in a sandwich bags. That's enough for about 2 servings. And if you need 4 servings or 6 servings, just get more bags. But freeze it, and then when you take it out, you can go through the second boil and the bacon part and seasoning, and then it's ready to eat, and it doesn't take half a day, to do it. So when you eat it, think about the pioneers coming to Arkansas, coming up the White River and finding this little bio coming in, and what's growing there but poke. And it grows all over the United States except in the very coldest parts, so wherever they came from, they're probably familiar with it. And think about pioneers and poke bio and such as you eat a bite of poke. Bon appetit, as they say in the land of the people who named White River La Rive Blanche, which meant not white, but clear.